Well, I hope this video finds everybody well. I'm sitting outside in the sun right now underneath the flag on a park bench while I take a break from all the noise in the shop so I can voice over this video. Earlier I downloaded one that was really short. Basically we have a 4,400 pound engine hoist hooked up to the engine, but with the trans attached, this is pretty heavy. It doesn't struggle, but we just want to make sure we get everything correctly. So we had to anchor the back of the trans to the front of the eyelet hook on the hoist. It is pulling it up fairly easy. We just had to make some adjustments a couple times and get any kind of last little bits and pieces of wiring harness trying to grab the motor as we're going to pull the 6.7 out of here. And our whole idea here was pull everything out as one unit, take it over to the actual pallet jack, the big heavy duty one that we have. It's like a 7,000 pound lift, battery operated one, and we'll split the trans and the motor over on the actual, heavy duty pallet jack, and it actually worked very well. Here you can see we're kind of just getting the last little bit freed up from the frame and just trying to make sure we have enough clearance before we start pulling slowly forward and lifting and pulling and lifting and pulling, and eventually we get to a point right here where we have it out. So pull the starter out of it at this point, pull the flywheel bolts out, pull the bottom bell housing bolts for the trans before we actually get it over to the forklift. And while they were pulling the forklift over, I was rotating the engine around and kind of pulling this through the only area in and out that we have. I'm pointing right here at the motor mount brackets that got to come off so the brackets for the engine stand can go on. It actually works pretty well, so we're gonna see. It's been a while since I've pulled the last one I pulled out of a chassis was a 6.4, which this looks to be about the same difficulty. A lot of pieces, but nothing too difficult about this whole entire job, to be honest with you. So here in a second you're going to see we actually pull it over to the forklift, and three of us all get to working on the safety aspect of it, all of us watching and pulling at the same time here, trying to make sure everything fits nice and easy. And I'm pulling out the rest of the bell housing bolts while the two guys in the back are trying to get the winch freed up from the back of the trans to the hook on the hoist, because now at this point the lift is actually, or the pallet jack is actually supporting all the weight for the trans, and the hoist has all the weight for the motor, so we can start to free this thing up and go ahead and finish detaching it right here. So the trans guy can go ahead and take off with the transmission and start overhauling it, going through, seeing what burnt up inside the trans, and then I could take it back to the end of my bay behind the truck. You see there, I just kind of took a pry bar and helped assist separate it the rest of the way. It was kind of getting hooked up on one of the torque converter bolts. He goes on the other side, does the same thing. We kind of wiggle it free. There it is, it comes free completely. Go ahead and let the forklift down the rest of the way. Once it hits the bottom, the trans guy, he wastes no time at all. He says, all right, I'm gone, it's on you. I'm taking the trans, I'm gonna go start working, and then you do your thing over here and you start working. So you can see he wastes no time, hands me the pry bar, takes control of the pallet jack, and he's gone. He's going to work. The other guy's helping him out of the stall. And then I'm going to go ahead and maneuver this engine to the back of the engine bay and start getting it ready to get set up on the engine stand. There's a bunch of different feet that go in the engine stand, so you have to make sure you pick the right one. Here I'm just kind of messing around with it, trying to get the feet tightened up, loosened up, the right ones put on. One of the sides is marked 6.7 to let you know what side to use, but the other side is not marked 6.7, so somebody took them out of their pair. I had to go search around a little bit to find the other side and make sure I had the correct one. I had to lift this thing up and down a bunch of times over and over again because I didn't realize I had one of the wrong adapters on one side of the engine stand, so it wouldn't line up with the bolt holes. So here I'm just kind of holding one hand on it to keep it true and then lowering it on the other side. This I'm trying to wiggle around and get the plates lined up and bolts started. Have my trans guy come over as I'm setting the hoist on down the rest of the way so we can lock the bottom bolt in so the legs don't separate underneath and stay attached. And fortunately, the both of us together got it lined up, got everything started, and he was able to go back to doing what he was doing. And now I'm able to go ahead and get it set up on the hoist, put a pan underneath it, and then start, not hoist, but the engine stand, and start, this is one of those crank tilts. I start tilting the engine forward here at the end, go ahead and drain the rest of the coolant out of it that I can to get it prepped for me to start tearing it down. Ford wants to see me pull pistons and stuff out of here and kind of get an idea on what happened in 1,500 miles, why this motor started knocking. It sounds like a wrist pin or a piston skirt cracked, so we'll see. There it is. It's all mounted. It's ready for me to start messing around with it, working on it, tearing it all apart. So that should be first thing in the morning when I start ripping everything down. There we go. Well, I appreciate y'all watching and sticking with me through it. Here's just some few pictures on the end, some stills. I hope you guys have a great work week, are productive this week. Stay safe while you're traveling. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. Please be patient with me as I get back into this diesel stuff. Our diesel guy moved on to another job, which left it back in my lap, which it's been a couple years since I've been involved, but I'm going to brush up and get better and get back efficient at it, and we'll have some good content. Y'all be blessed.